from being memed,
because I ain't seen these in months, blood. Talk about victim Gyokeres, blood. Yeah? Talk about Yokozuna, fam.
to destroying Arsenal's London rivals.
Gyokeres, space! Oh, that's a brilliant goal!
From barely scoring
There's times this season where you thought, is he a hit or is he a miss? Is he good or is he average? You're almost from week to week balancing a little bit about what this guy is.
to scoring more than anyone else since 2026 started. Gyökeres' journey at Arsenal has been a story on its own.
There's been quite a bit of noise about Viktor Gyökeres as well from the outside, and I know it's very different to what it is in the inside, but do you feel when you hear some of the criticism directed towards Viktor Gyökeres, do you feel it's fair?
I don't know, but it's going to continue to have a lot of noise around him for the next 5 years. I'm sure about that. Since day one, you signed a number 9 for Arsenal with the background that he has and the expectation that we have as a team. That's not going away. That's part of his role and that's part of life of being Arsenal number 9, and that's it.
At one point, Arsenal fans were done with this guy.
Arsenal fans are a strange beast as well. I get the feeling that a lot of them are actually now willing him to fail.
Are they?
Well,
Why?
well, that's how they're built. They are anxious about the fact they're leading and that they're not necessarily playing attractive football, and own goals are being scored to give them points. But
You're almost saying to me that Arsenal fans aren't enjoying this.
I think they are. I think they're a very different breed to most.
Which was understandable. Against Liverpool, he only had 8 touches, and he really struggled to make an impact, which at the time had been the story all season. It was yet another performance where Gyökeres failed to register a shot in a Premier League game that he started. At one point, he was averaging 2.15 shots per 90, which, to put it into perspective, was below Everton's Beto and West Ham's Callum Wilson. Gyökeres was a guy who was ahead of Haaland and Mbappe for goal scoring, and now he was nowhere near the top end of the rankings for strikers. Now, of course, many Arsenal fans will argue that Gyökeres was doing a lot even when the goals weren't coming. Even when he wasn't playing well individually, the team as a whole played better when he was up front. He attracted a lot of attention by pinning the center backs. In fact, you saw it in action when Rice scored against Bournemouth. Gyökeres was getting abused by a crowd of defenders, which opened up the space for Rice.
I know that Viktor Gyökeres from the outside, people have been talking about his record and stuff. The manager said he does a lot more than just score goals, and today he played a vital part in the second goal, didn't he?
Massive. It's tough for him because defenders are so tight on him and there's no space for him at all.
His runs in behind also forced defenders to hesitate. We saw that against Aston Villa, where his movement put Konsa in 2 minds, which opened up space for Martin Odegaard to find Martin Zubamendi for Arsenal's second goal. Then you have the fact that his pressing forced mistakes in dangerous areas, and his off-the-ball work helped his teammates find space.
I think that the issue that Gyokeres is having at times is that his job is to pin the centre-halves back. You know, as Gary, you've worked with me, and I've been told, Daniel, stop dropping deep to get touches, stay up top and occupy the centre-halves, make your runs, occupy them, give us more room. But I think doing that, you get less touches, because if your team's a ball-dominant team that aren't penetrating centrally, Arsenal's game is get it wide.
These are all examples of what Gyökeres offers even when the goals aren't flowing. You still see these qualities even when he has been scoring recently. He scored twice against Spurs, which meant now he had 5 goals in his last 5 league games. But while most people were talking about his finishing, his work without the ball had gone under the radar again. His constant pressing and effort to win the ball back really stood out, and it pushed his teammates to raise their intensity too. I mean, he was using his strength so well against Spurs' center backs, and he made life uncomfortable for them all game. According to The Athletic, no player averaged more final third presses per 30 minutes out of possession than Gyökeres. So even when his goals weren't flowing early on, that level of work rate did not go unnoticed, especially by Mikel Arteta. Arsenal kept the pitch tight all game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and they won the ball 19 times in the attacking third. That aggressive approach matched Gyökeres' performance perfectly. He looked strong, fit, very physical. He looked just like the center forward who used to dominate defenders in Portugal. And that's exactly why Arsenal had gone all in on him in the first place, because this was always the plan. Heading into the 2025 summer window, Arsenal had one clear goal. They wanted to sign a proper number 9. The squad already had creativity, they had technical quality with players like Saka, Trossard, Martin Odegaard, later Eze, but everyone inside and outside the club knew they were missing a strong traditional striker who could finish the chances they create and make the difference in tight games at the top level. Arsenal were ready to spend big to fix that problem, and that's why they ended up spending over £200 million that summer as they tried to move from being title challengers to a team that wins trophies regularly, because they knew they were right there in the mix. The Gunners looked at a lot of forwards. In fact, Šeško was a major target early on, but after he joined Manchester United, Arsenal had to rethink things, and that's when their focus shifted towards Viktor Gyökeres, who was putting up ridiculous numbers at Sporting. Those numbers were the main reason that Arsenal were willing to pay around £64 million for him. Like, his numbers were insane. He scored 97 goals in 102 games across 2 seasons and helped Sporting win trophies. At one point, he even had the highest goal tally across European competitions, which pushed him into conversations as one of the best number 9s all around. And for people that want to say that he was stat padding in Portugal against Farmers, well, he wasn't only doing it at club level. He had scored 12 goals in 17 games for Sweden before the move, and he had some great performances in the Champions League that showed Arsenal that he could handle the big stage. So when he arrived at the Emirates, the expectations were clear. Come in, lead the line, and deliver straight away. I think most fans knew that he wasn't going to get the same numbers as he did at Sporting, but considering he was in an Arsenal team that created opportunities, there was a belief that at the bare minimum, this guy could get anywhere between 15 to 20 goals in all competitions. While moving from Portugal to the Premier League was always going to be tough, and that adjustment hit him hard early on. On his Premier League debut against Manchester United, he only lasted 60 minutes. He didn't take a single shot, he created no chances, and he completed just 4 passes before being subbed off for Havertz. He ended up getting a brace against Leeds in August, but as the season went on, the goals slowed down. He seemed to only look good against a really bad team, because when the matches came against Liverpool, Man City, and Newcastle, he played the full game, but he couldn't score. By the halfway point of the season, the narrative around him started getting negative. Across his first 25 games in all competitions, he only had 8 goals, and critics immediately jumped on that, especially given his price tag and the expectations around him. Injuries also made things worse for him. A muscle issue in November knocked him out during a crucial stretch, and he missed games against Sunderland, Tottenham, Slavia Praha, and Bayern Munich. When he came back, he lacked rhythm. He was getting short substitute appearances here and there, which made it even harder to build momentum. And that's when the media noise really started.
It's not a perfect match, but I think he's a very good centre forward who's won the Golden Shoe. He scored, 60
I don't mind strikers who don't do much, but when it comes into the box, they're sharp and they're alive to it. He's in the box the way he's outside the box. He just looks a bit sluggish and lacks seeing that real quality, maybe confidence as well.
I'm interested to see what Daniel, look, I'd be interested to know what Mikel Arteta is actually thinking and saying to Gyokeres in respect of his performance tonight, because I think I agree with Roy in the sense that I'm actually not bothered about what he does outside the box, but I was actually quite excited about Arsenal having a sort of focal point centre forward, because I think that's what they miss. But I would have expected when that ball flies across that box, I'd just see him sort of like charging in and sliding and just sort of getting on the end of it. But then he sometimes doesn't quite make that real definite run.
Despite Arsenal being at the top of the league and on top of the Champions League, pundits focused entirely on Gyokeres' lack of goals. They ignored the bigger picture. You had Julian Lescott questioning Arsenal's recruitment. You had Jamie Redknapp saying that Gyokeres looks like he's struggling with the physical pace and speed of decision-making in England.
He's finding it hard up there. That's his 5th goal this season. He doesn't look, for whatever reason, and it shouldn't be the case because he's been in the English leagues before, it looks like he's really struggling with the physicality of it, because he's a very big guy. I very rarely see him win a duel one-on-one when I thought he could have physically overpowered people. In terms of his finesse and touch and bringing people into play, not good enough. He's finding it tough. He needs a little bit of confidence. I don't think look, he's never going to be like a Bergkamp that's going to bring the ball, roll people and play little clever passes. He's a battering ram that's going to score goals and make big moments and hopefully win you games. The argument tonight, yes, he won the game, but he won it with a penalty. Now, you want to see him winning games with like really important goals, that are going to make the difference in the big games.
You had people suggesting that he needs to lose muscle to be more effective. Suddenly, people weren't just criticizing his form, they were body shaming him. It added even more pressure during an already tough adaptation period. Throughout all of that, though, Arteta and the rest of his teammates never turned on him publicly. The manager kept defending him, and so did the players.
It was very important for him to start a match and start to have the feeling and the connection with the team because he's been with us only a week or so, but I already saw a lot of things and a lot of purpose, especially the way he was attacking certain spaces.
In training, I see how he works. He's such a good guy. It will start to click for him, like the manager said the other day, and all the boys are with him because what he's doing for us, even though he hasn't scored, how he's helping us as a team to press, to hold the ball up. I think good things are going to come.
A lot of the issues were also structural. Arsenal weren't progressing the ball well enough, and they weren't getting it into the areas that Gyokeres thrived in Portugal. But here's the key part. Even when the goals weren't coming, there were signs that he was doing certain things right. He was still influencing games in ways that didn't always show up on the score sheet.
What's he like within himself mentally? How strong is he?
Very strong.
And how are you with him?
Well, just try to give him all the support, all the tools, all the solutions, and give him confidence. That's what I think. When I see him train every day, how he's in the meetings, how much he wants to do well, the way he's working every single match, it will click, it will come in. And one thing is missing at the moment is that he scored more goals, but he's doing a lot of things right.
There were many times where he was getting into the right areas, but his teammates weren't finding him. He made a lot of progressive runs. He accelerated past defenders. But there were just so many times where he didn't get service despite making the right run. Now, tactically, Arteta was trying to evolve the team during this phase. He didn't want Gyokeres to just be a poacher. He wanted to use him like a battering ram in transitions. Because everybody knew that Gyokeres was at his best in the left channels and the left half spaces. So Arteta wanted him to drift into those areas, combine with Trossard and Rice, and pull defenders out of position. Those moments created space for Arsenal's midfielders and wingers. So even though Gyokeres wasn't the one scoring, that's where he wanted to be. That's where he could make a difference. As the season went on, things started to change. Once the calendar flipped to 2026, Gyokeres looked like a completely different player. The Premier League pace finally felt normal to him. His chemistry with Arsenal's midfield started clicking, and now the goals began to flow. You guys remember what Cristiano Ronaldo said, comparing goals to a ketchup bottle? The same people who were doubting him we're now watching him transform into one of the most informed forwards in England. By late February of 2026, he had scored 8 goals across all competitions. In the league alone, he had hit 5 goals in 5 games at one point, quickly shutting down a lot of the criticism that had followed him earlier in the season. His overall numbers jumped to 15 goals and 2 assists. He had already matched Arsenal's top score from the entire previous campaign. The debates about whether Havertz or Jesus should start over him disappeared. Gyokeres had become the main focal point of Arsenal's attack. Now that he was playing with confidence, you could see his impact immediately. Against Sunderland, he came off the bench and scored twice in a 3-0 win. He was finally sharp and confident again. He had looked good in certain moments before the new year, like when he got a brace against Atletico Madrid, but now he was doing it far more consistently. He got a goal against Inter in the Champions League, then got a goal and assist against Kirat. Then in the Premier League, he made a statement in the North London derby. You see, just days after the Wolves setback, Arsenal crushed Spurs 4-1, and Gyokeres delivered his best performance in an Arsenal shirt at that point. He not only scored, but he completely dominated the game. His first goal was incredible. Wonderful touch, great composure, and a precise finish. Then his second goal showed the physical side that people had criticized earlier in the season, saying that he's too bulky, he can't move enough. Well, he bullied his way into the box and finished clinically. It was the perfect mix of everything Arsenal had signed him for. Although scoring against Spurs didn't change the narrative that Gyokeres only scores against relegation fodder. That derby win pushed Arsenal 5 points clear at the top of the table and showed what this team can look like when everything clicks. With Eze starting alongside him, Gyokeres finally looked fully synced with his teammates. Now, Tottenham's open style gave him a lot of space to run in, but that game showed that he could hold the ball up, win aerial duels, bring his teammates into play. All of the things Arteta wants from his number 9. Blockhead actually praised his efficiency after the match.
Well, I think he deserved it because everything that we were seeing in terms of what he was bringing to the team and how much he was helping the team in many areas, apart from scoring goals in the last few weeks, there was no debate about that. It was about keeping that belief on himself, that emotional state, that he can enjoy and play freely. I think he's certainly done that today again. He was rewarded with 2 goals. And as you said, big smile on his face. Look at his teammates as well in the picture, in the video. They are also happy for him because he fully deserves that.
Saying that his influence went far beyond just the brace. His second half performance basically decided the game. It was a competitive derby, then it quickly turned into something that Spurs couldn't recover from. Now looking back, this season really shows how messy adaptation can be. I think as fans we have to just accept the fact that players bought for big money still need time to adapt. Maybe it's because of the inflated transfer fees, maybe the modern player is just different. Because I look at players like Rice, Bellingham, Neymar, these were big signings who hit the ground running. Now I understand understand that those guys are way better than Gyokeres, and Gyokeres wasn't bought for that amount of money. But still, there's certain expectations you have, especially from a player who had such amazing stats before. But we have to realize that every player is different, and Gyokeres is getting the goal scoring numbers that many people would have predicted early in the season. Now early on, everybody focused on his lack of goals and ignored the deeper impact he was already having. The runs he makes, the physical battles, the way he stretches defenses. Now that he's getting goals, that heavy player narrative is fading quickly. But the truth is, he was laying the groundwork long before this. What we're seeing now is the result of him finally settling into the system and handling the pressure that comes with being Arsenal's big signing. Because remember, even when he was getting criticized, the team was still winning matches. Now as Arsenal pushed towards the end of the season and trying to make a run both in the Champions League and finally lift that Premier League trophy, Gyokeres is going to be at the center of the attack. He's the kind of number 9 who can actually decide a title race. Someone who can help you bring silverware. Now to see how good the rest of the team around him has become, you have to watch this video right here.